something on 40 and 24 today, and I guess they're rerouting a bunch of traffic, so that could have been it. I saw something on Twitter about traffic, but
it's crazy.
Appreciate you working through it to get here. We'll have TD for the full show again. If you have questions for TD, we're going to do our Talk to TD segment coming up at 10 a.m. You can text or call any questions for TD. Titans, NFL, Mets, life, everything. Make sure you get those in 615-737-1025. So TD, I know you've been on some of the shows as a guest, but just overall takeaways from week one. Obviously, there was a lot to be said about Brian Callahan and the decisions that he made. Cam Ward, statistically, the debut didn't look great in the box score, but when you watch the film, there was a lot to like. What were your thoughts on the Titans' week one loss against the Broncos?
Well, that's the whole thing. You could tell who watched and who didn't watch by what they say from Cam Ward. And I'll say this, it's not like, look, let's not anoint him Patrick Mahomes or anything like that. There's a lot to build upon. There were throws that he made. I know they were 2 or 13 or 2 or 14 on third down. But one of those third downs, the first one that he faced, you saw the Cam Ward experience.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's something that you have to look at. Then you look at the throw he had to Calvin Ridley backed up in his own end zone. You know, he eluded some pressure. I don't know how he saw. I should have asked him. Shame on me for not, because like somehow he's, fooling around on this side of the field and he sees Ridley over there and he throws it. Then you look at the opposite hash to sideline throw. Gunnar Helm on the deep outbreaking route, the corner route that he threw that shouldn't have been overturned. There were a lot of throws, but then you have the sacks that he took.
Right.
Those are things you cannot do. Then you have there were a couple times where he was a little bit rushed in the pocket. There were a couple times where he fled the pocket a little too early. And these are things you're going to encounter when you have a guy like that in his first start against a defense like that. So I think all things remaining equal, there's a lot to grow upon. Also, Brian Callahan, what he told me when I asked him about the freedom to check at the line of scrimmage, that last play was actually one of Callahan's favorite plays because he saw the max pressure coming. He switched it up, boom, 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 got the protection. And then it kind of, I think it may have tricked Koharski because he asked about, the running backs moving from side to side.
Right.
And I think he interpreted that as the guys not knowing what they were doing. But that was Ward saying, oh, there's pressure coming from it.
Yeah.
Hey, Tony, I need you to go over here because you got to pick that up.
Right.
You know what I mean?
They were even putting him like right behind the offensive line, basically saying, yeah, your job here, pick up that guy.
Yeah.
So, but I agree with you. I think the one thing you did notice with Cam Ward is everybody talked about his spatial awareness. And it's just like he has an uncanny ability to just know where everybody is on the field. That first third down, I don't know how he saw Tony Pollard, but he gets it to him. And then the Calvin Ridley one, it's like most quarterbacks just throw that ball into the seats on the far sideline. Instead, he works his way all the way back and finds Calvin Ridley.
Yep. And I think that's one of the examples of why I encourage younger athletes to play multiple sports, because there's different attributes that you could pull from other sports. Look at A.J. Brown playing baseball and the ball skills.
Right.
But keeping this on Cam Ward, he was a pretty good hooper, right? And as a point guard, your job is to distribute the ball. It's a perfect match for a quarterback. But also when you take it to the cup, you're in there with bodies that are bigger than you. So that ability to not go crazy when there's bodies all around you is something that you acquire. I believe that he got that in talking to his dad. I think that that's something that he pulled from basketball.
It is. I mean, you talk about point guards who have eyes on the back of their head. Like, it's like they're driving down the lane. It looks like they have no options, and then they kick it to the corner for a wide open three.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it felt like with Cam Ward, especially on the Ridley one, where it's like it looks like he's locked up. He's either going to get sacked or have to throw it away, and just worked his way back, and he's got the arm strength to make that throw. And that was one of the more impressive plays we saw from Cam Ward. Obviously, there's a lot to build on for Cam Ward, for this entire team. It's an important week this week against the Rams, and the test doesn't get much easier. Rams, they're a playoff team. They gave the Eagles the best fight they got in the playoffs last season. So going to be a tough one. Cam Ward and this Titans offense looking to improve after not finding the end zone on Sunday. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. If you want to text or call, our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. And again, we will talk to TD. You'll talk to TD coming up at 10. Get in your questions on our text line. You can also call in 615-737-1025. Also, Andrew Allegretta from Vanderbilt Football going to join us at 11 to get ready for Commodores and Gamecocks on Saturday. Huge game as the Commodores look to get to 3-0 on the year. We are off and rolling on this TD Thursday. Coming up next, we're going to talk some Brian Callahan. What is most important for Brian Callahan to improve in week 2? We saw some issues, whether it was the penalties, the game management, all that kind of stuff. What is most important to see in week 2 from Brian Callahan to show that he is improving and showing growth in year 2 as the Titans head coach? We'll do that next. Jake Lyman, Turron, Davenport, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Wisconsin takes on Alabama this Saturday at 11 a.m. in our college football game of the week on 102.5 The Game, presented by Twin Peaks Restaurants and Circa Sportsbook Kentucky. Coverage also available on the Game Nashville app and at thegamenashville.com. Jake Lyman, Turron, Davenport, Parker Kelly with you. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. We've got TD for all 3 hours today, getting ready for Titans and Rams from Nissan Stadium on Sunday. And again, get your questions in. We'll let you talk to TD coming up at 10 a.m. 615-737-1025. So TD, the story this week has been Brian Callahan. And you never, after a loss, want the story to be your head coach. Usually, talking to Corey Curtis yesterday, like, your head coach, he may not win you a game, but he can't lose you a game. And he was a large reason why the Titans did not win that game on Sunday. In my mind, in my eyes, there are 3 big aspects that Brian Callahan needs to improve upon. Obviously, the penalties is a big thing. He had 130 yards in penalties after preaching no more self-inflicted negatives, no more mental errors, and there were definitely a lot of those on Sunday in Denver. In-game decision-making, the failure to challenge the Alec Iamaner catch, the aggressiveness versus conservativeness, but that also may fall into this third one, his offensive flow as a play caller. I think there were times when it looked good, but there are other times when it felt like he was just making the wrong decisions at the wrong time. The end of the first half sequence stands out. Which of those do you think is most important to see Callahan improve? Is it just the idea of being the CEO of the team and making the right in-game decisions, the play calling, or is it this macro big picture, the team needs to be more disciplined?
That's a tough one to call. Because they almost gave up 1.5 football fields and penalty yards. And that's just, I would probably say the penalties.
Right.
I think that's the biggest thing, because a lot of times, there were a few times where the penalty led to a new series, a new set of downs for the opposing, for the Broncos. But then other times, you had penalties and it put them back behind the sticks. And what's crazy is one of those penalties that put them behind the 6. They had a 1st and 20. They go deep to Alec Iamaner. Right. And that play, there's so much tied into that play, because I kept seeing safety shaded away from that side, one-on-one, Alec Iamaner and Riley Moss. And as Jarvis Brownlee loves to say, E-mano, E-mano. And it's like, you got to take advantage of that. Now, finally, they did in that situation, the 1st and 20, which was caused by a penalty, which goes back to the bigger picture.
Right.
And so do you see how all these things are related?
They all tie together.
Right. And then what happened on the play that was actually completed, didn't challenge.
Right.
Misinterpreted or misspoke, whatever it may be, the result that should have happened didn't happen. And that's a collective failure. Nick Holtz, Brian Callahan, Rob Ritterer, Bo Hardegree, Tyke Tolbert. Those guys all should have been on top of that. And I get it, in the heat of the moment, things happen. But in the heat of the moment, guess who was like, hey, that's a catch? And
Amani Hooker.
Amani Hooker.
Yep.
Right? So somebody knew in the heat of the moment what it was supposed to be. So I think it's, you could say penalties, you could say play calling, but it's all involved.
Right.
Really.
And I know that this conversation has been had before this week, but do you think Callahan being the play caller may have inhibited his ability to challenge that play? Because when you're the play caller, you got to get the next call in. Like, the play clock is running. He's got to start looking at that. Maybe if he is not the play caller, he can focus on that and maybe there's a different result. But also, part of that is he has somebody, whether it's Rob Ritter or whether it's Nick Holtz or somebody should have been here and telling him.
Yeah.
So
100%. You're 100% right, Jake. Somebody should have been in this. And yes, there are responsibilities that he has to hold. Somebody should have helped him.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, right? Let's not fire this man yet.
I agree.
You know what I mean? Because if you remember 2018 and into 2019, people were calling Mike Vrabel idiot for going for it on certain situations and stuff like that. And we know Mike Vrabel has proven himself to be a wizard of the rule book. I mean, I think there's a strained relationship part because of how he finessed the rules, right? With Bill Belichick. I'm not saying Brian Callahan is going to become Mike Vrabel. All right. So don't call me. Don't to tweet me and all that stuff. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is let's continue to watch this play out. And remember, the expectation was set. I mean, Joe Dubin asked if this team could win a Super. Chad Brinker laughed.
Yeah.
And Mike Berganzi, like he that's always the goal, but
he brushed it off, basically.
There's a lot that has to happen for this team to be even competitive.
Yes, and you look back at those Vrabel teams, who knows where this season goes, but Vrabel was pretty horrible in season openers too.
Yes.
The Dolphins game, I think you can give him a pass because of the
8 hours.
Yeah, the lightning delays and all that. But look back at the Cardinals game.
The Giants.
The Cardinals game, they ended up being the number 1 seed in the AFC that year.
Mm-hmm.
And they got dominated by the Cardinals. DeAndre Hopkins had at least 2 touchdown catches. And that was the game Chandler Jones had 5 sacks against Taylor Lewan. So it's like, it is, week 1 can be a liar. It is just interesting with that game because I don't think anyone expected the Titans to win. Adam from Portland aside. I think most Titans fans realistically thought the Titans were going to lose that game. But it's the way that they lost it that was so disappointing because Sean Payton and Bo Nix were not good. There were if the Titans win that game, there's a lot of Broncos fans who are wondering what Sean Payton was doing with that. I mean, the 4th down call at the end, he was challenging way too much. I mean, he was wrong on
he used them all
on the Chig first down.
Yeah.
Like he got the first one right, which I'm not
wasn't right.
I think that's a catch.
Man, Gunner caught that.
But if they lose that game, Sean Payton, they're not trying to fire him in Denver, but they're having a similar conversation of like, he lost that game for us with some of the decisions he made. It is week 1. Brian Callahan has a lot to improve upon in all 3 of those aspects. I agree. I think penalties is big, but I think the play calling in certain situations needs to be better. I mean, the end of the first half sequence, we can start there. I'm okay with throwing it on first down.
Right.
But when it's incomplete, maybe you want to run. The screenplay on second down, fine. But when all 3 of your receivers go to block and you throw it incomplete, that's when you kind of just got to pack it up and say, all right, this isn't going to work. Let's just run it. Make them use a timeout. Make sure we don't give a safety. Give Johnny Hekker room to punt. The 3rd down pass was the most damning when it came to what Brian Callahan did.
That second down, I'm not. That's cool. That's fine. But dang, you got to execute. You know what I mean? I don't know who it was for sure. I think that one was on Ridley, but and he kind of was like, "Oh, we just didn't execute." I get it, but that 3rd down, you got to run the ball.
Yep,
you can't put third and long.
That was the only option
on the 7-yard line. You can't put your quarterback in that situation. You cannot. He did what he could to get out of the end zone.
Right. By about that much.
I thought it was a safety.
At first look live, I thought it was a safety too, but Cam did a nice job of actually kind of like falling forward at the end to make sure he didn't get a safety.
Yeah, good awareness.
But honestly, a safety might have worked out better for you.
Yeah, it's 5 points less. For me, though, looking at that, I think big picture thought process, I get you want to be aggressive. And I get that, Joey Slye did make it like he 68, damn near 70.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I get that. But my thing is, look at the big picture. Go into halftime with the 6-3 that they're getting the ball back. Your defense is balling.
2 turnovers.
They ended up generating a turnover coming out of halftime anyway. So it's just like, yeah, I get being aggressive. But why not be aggressive coming off of the turnovers that you got?
Right.
Got you the ball in plus territory.
Was it after the Woods pick or the strip sack where they ran Pollard, Chestnut, and then kicked the field goal? It's like,
the strip sack.
Flip the aggressiveness there, and not that you had to throw it 3 times after that, but that's a sudden change. You got a chance to go make a play and see if you can catch that Broncos defense sleeping a little bit. Instead, you ran it 3rd and 2. You bring Julius Chestnut in. And then you're backed up to your own goal line. You throw it 3 times. It felt like there wasn't a whole lot of feel for the game plan when it came to Brian Callahan's play calling.
One of those 3 turnovers, the sudden change, I'm taking advantage of that, and I'm going play action, and I'm throwing the ball
deep shot. Yeah.
One of those. And they ran the ball on after 3 of the 4 turnovers. And those are things that be aggressive there.
Yeah.
Right? Momentum is real. Let your offense feed off of what the defense did. And that strip sack by Jeffrey Simmons, who had an outstanding game, like no one's really talking about how well this dude played.
He was dominant.
That strip sack, you know why it happened, right? Go back and watch the All-22. L'Jarius Sneed clamped Cortland Sutton. If you watch the end zone copy of the All-22, you're going to see Bo Nix's head looking that way, and it's looking, and then it finally comes off. And next thing you know, Simmons, who was getting violated before he split the double team, got the sack. But Sneed shut down Cortland Sutton's route. And I love that. And I've been talking about it all week. I love when the back end helps the front end, but then the front end helps the back end, because what happened when Jeffrey Simmons got the pressure, and everybody says, oh, get the sack, get the sack, get the sack. Yeah, the sack is good. But if you could pressure the quarterback and force him to make a rush throw that's picked off, that's better. And that's what he did on that play where Xavier Woods had to dive in interception.
Yeah, Jeffrey Simmons, if it wasn't for that penalty at the end, I think we would be having lots of conversations this week about how good he was. And it's tough when one boneheaded mistake costs you the admiration that he should be getting, because that was one of the best games we've seen Jeffrey Simmons play in a long time. Mm-hmm. And hopefully we can continue to see it. The Rams, 3 of their starting offensive linemen did not practice yesterday. Could be an opportunity for him to have another big game on Sunday against LA. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Couple more things to get to from that Broncos game with TD. And again, coming up at 10, you can talk to TD. Get your questions in for Turron Davenport, 615-737-1025. Later today on ESPN 94.9 The Fan, the Nashville Sounds take on Gwinnett at First Horizon Park with the first pitch at 6:35. Coverage also available on the Game Nashville app and at theGameNashville.com. Sounds baseball on ESPN 94.9 The Fan is presented by Twin Peaks and Family Leisure. Jake Lyman, Turron Davenport, Parker Kelly, next man up here on 102.5 The Game. That was Cam Ward yesterday talking about his debut. I love it. Every time we get TD on, we get to hear is it DJ
MCD?
DJ MCD. Yeah.
This needs to be on rotation at Nissan Stadium, man.
It should. You know what? We had the
song,
right. We had the conversation about No More Ring of Fire is the touchdown song. I kind of like it.
Yeah, no, that would be, man. That come in. Oh, that would be hard. Go ahead, drop it one more time, Parker. Drop it one more time.
With Cam Moore doing the zombie landing
in the circle.
I like it. If anybody out there for the Titans is listening, after the only preseason game at Nissan Stadium, I did come on here and said a Ring of Fire needs to be replaced. We'll see. Regular season game this weekend. We'll see if anybody out there was listening. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. If you have questions for TD, get them in. We will talk to TD coming up at 10. Give you a chance to ask your questions. You can text or call. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. So Cam Ward's debut, we touched on it a little bit in the first segment. There are a lot of polarizing reactions to Cam Ward's debut. You've got guys like Dan Orlovsky and other guys who watched the film who are saying how great of a debut it was. Dan Orlovsky, I believe he said it was on par with Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson in terms of exceeding expectations. Maybe that's a little bit too high on his debut. You've got other people. I've seen tweets from stats guys out there saying that he was objectively awful, which is also just not true.
Yeah.
It's somewhere in the middle. There were some things that I think he did really well. There were other plays, like Cam Ward said, that he would want back. We'll see how he can adjust heading into week 2.
Yeah, and I think if you look at it, so ESPN and True Media, they charted 3 drops. My editor and I, we went back and forth, and I was like, huh?
Well, Dan Orlovsky said 8.
Dan Orlovsky said 8.
It's somewhere in between.
The one on the 3rd and 10 that got on Chig really fast.
Yeah.
That was not categorized as a drop.
I don't know if I'd call that a drop.
I would.
Really?
You got to make that play.
It was
in
a
that situation,
catchable ball.
It hits your hands. And I think that's just a matter of, I'll drop a little bit of what I'm working on. Alec Ironmanner, I talked to him about it. And I remember the first day of minicamp, he was like, man, you got to be on time. Like, Cam is always on time. And if you don't get your head around, you got to make sure
that you in the face mask.
Right. And so that's what happened on that play. As soon as he got, because Cam, when he talks to these guys, he said, look, man, every time you pass, and this is something Restrepo told me goes back to Miami. He said, look, every time you pass a defender, make sure that you're looking. Look for the ball. Because there are certain plays where you may not be supposed to get the ball that early in the route, but if you're beat and he sees it, he's going. And I think that's what happened with the Chig. Not that he wasn't supposed to be open that early in the route, but as soon as he got open, the ball, boom. And they may not be used to that type of impeccable timing. Now, granted, it's not always going to be perfect like that, but I think that's why, and that's a big part to me when you look at the drops. If you adjust the stats, so to speak, because look at the Gunnar Helm one, that was what a 15, 16-yard play.
Right.
Look at the Alec Ironmanner one, that's 23. Right there, you're talking about 39, 40 yards of left on the field. And
2 more completions, which would have gotten him over 50% without even taking the drops into account. Calvin Ridley had at least 2. The one on the dagger over the middle, the dig route where Singleton came hard, but the ball hit him in the hands. He should have.
Oh, you talking about where he had duck in the safety?
Yeah. That one was a drop, and then obviously the one we've talked about all week where Cam Ward's dad looked like he was about to.
Yeah, he looked like he ate some bad Crystal burgers or something.
Well, I told this story on Monday, TD. I just got back from Blacksburg, so I was up in my room. I was unpacking, and I laid down in bed for a second watching that last drive. And when Calvin Ridley dropped that ball, I reacted so abruptly that my calf cramped up, and like I'm like in pain, and my fiance is like, "What's wrong? Was it really that bad of a play?" I'm like, "Yeah, kind of, but I'm also in pain." That me and Cam Ward's dad both had very violent reactions to that drop. The And Alec Ironmaner also had a drop. We don't talk about that one as much. The one Cam Ward kind of sidearmed it around a defender. It did hit Alec in the hand, so that's at least 4 right there.
He didn't know that was coming.
Right.
He told me, he was like, "Yo, like I'm running the route and I'm looking and I see the D lineman and I don't see the quarterback. I'm like, that ball's not coming. And next thing you know, you see this arm and it's coming. So
yeah,
they're going to get used to it.
Yeah. So it's game 1, and maybe that makes you wish they had played more together in the preseason. Like, I guess that could be one of the takeaways from it, is that they clearly weren't fully prepared for Cam Ward and the timing and the pace on those passes. But overall, I think if you actually watch how Cam Ward performed, he was on time. He made some really impressive throws. And I've said it all week. The most impressive thing, he didn't put the ball in danger once. The last play of the game, where I don't know if they called that a fumble or incomplete.
It was a fumble.
They called it a fumble, but like,
look, he came in untouched.
It was 4th and 10 with 30 seconds left in the game. It's like, but overall, there were no plays where you're like, man, he got lucky to get that one back.
Right.
He made good decisions, and he's got to build on it. It wasn't perfect. The sequence that everybody's going to put on Cam are the 2 sacks back-to-back that took them out of field goal range. Mm-hmm. And I thought Top Tier on the YouTube chat made a good point that if there was a possession after a turnover to just run it 3 times and take your points, it was that one. You're late in the third quarter, down by 1, or down by 2 at that point. You just kick your field goal and you take the lead. That was probably the one time where you should have been more conservative.
No, absolutely. That was a time where you should have been more conservative. I'll add this, though. One other one he missed on the sprint out. And some people said that where Nick Bonito got the sack.
Yes.
He beat Dan Moore Jr. Some people say, hey, that was a bad call. I like the call, because what you're doing is you're making it simple for you. It's spreading him out, get him on the move. He plays well on the move, right? But then you're cutting the field, in half from that right. Hash to the sideline, and it's like, hey, look, 1, 2, 3, if it's not there, throw it away. Or you have the option to run.
Right.
You know what I mean? Of course, Bonito was able to get the sack, but he had Van Jefferson open in the corner of the end zone.
Right.
Missed him.
Yes.
Okay, he's not perfect. It's going to happen, but that's another one that you could point out that is a play that he probably would have won back.
Yes, that third down in the red zone ended up having to settle for 3. And on the first sack, the second down sack after the muff punt, Brian Callahan, I thought, put it very it was a good answer about why that was a sack, because Tony Pollard was supposed to be the safety outlet. And if you watch back on the film, Tony Pollard just ran right into, he blocked, and then he tried to get out and ran it right into another defensive lineman. There was just nowhere for him to go. And with Cam Ward, it's like, yeah, you can get on him for holding the ball too long, but he didn't really have much answers other than if you throw it away, it's intentional grounding. It's the same exact result as if you take the sack.
Yeah, great point.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. If you have questions for TD, make sure to get them in. We are going to do our Talk to TD segment coming up at 10. You can text or call. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We'll keep talking Titans. Also, I know Chase and Big Joe brought it up yesterday. I am doing something very unique tonight with Chase, and I want some advice on any help that I can get with something over at the Nashville Fair. Jake Lyman, Turron, Davenport, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. This Sunday, catch the Eagles versus the Chiefs for the NFL Game of the Week on ESPN 102.5. The Game Super Bowl rematch starts at 3:25 p.m. The NFL Game of the Week is presented by Circa Sportsbook Kentucky and Macero in 12 South. Jake Lyman, Turron, Davenport, Parker Kelly with you on this Thursday, getting ready for Week 2. Titans and Rams coming up from Nissan Stadium at noon on Sunday. More to get to on the Titans. I actually just came across this chart, and Week 1, we've gotten all the quarterback charts, and Cam Ward usually has been kind of in the middle. But here's one from Stat Account on Twitter. They have 9,000 followers, so I'm going to take their word for it. Cam Ward had tried to make the hardest throws in the league last Sunday. His completion probability percentage was well beyond everyone else in terms of how low it was. So Cam Ward tried to make the hardest throws in the NFL, and he was about league average when it came to accurate throw percentage. So maybe you don't want Cam Ward to be having to make those difficult throws. I've been saying, I said to Corey, get him some layups this week. Like, I think that's important. He only completed 42% of his passes, and I know drops and other factors worked into that. But I'd love to see just get him some easy ones early on to get Cam Ward in rhythm.
Yeah, you got to get him in some type of rhythm, that's for sure, because that's what he is, right? He's a rhythmic passer, and just like anything, as a person doing something, you want to get into a groove, and that's a good way to do it by like quick outlet, sprint out, have motion Calvin Ridley from right to left, and have him run the speed out and sprint out to have Ward sprint out to that left side, and boom, those types of things. They got to do that.
Excited to see Cam Ward on Sunday against the Rams. Another tough defense. Cornerbacks not quite as impressive as Patrick Surtain and Riley Moss. It's still a really good secondary, but maybe could have some more separation for his receivers. See if he can have a better game Sunday in Week 2. TD, figured this is a good time to bring this up. So Chase and Big Joe have convinced me to compete in a cow milking competition tonight at the Nashville Fair. I gotta say, I got a text from Big Joe about a month ago, right around there, and it was, "What are you doing on September 11th? Would you want to compete in a cow milking competition for 102.5 The Game?" And it's Big Joe. I kind of assumed it was a joke. I thought he was just messing with me, so I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll do it." And now it's actually here. So tonight, 7 p.m. over at the Nashville Fair, me and Chase McCabe are going to be trying to bring home the trophy in the Nashville Fair cow milking competition. So anybody out there who has experience with this, I don't know, TD, have you ever milked a cow?
No.
Neither have I. Parker?
TD, you're meaning to tell me you've never milked a cow before?
No.
I've never done it.
Listen, I went, Jeffrey Simmons, he had a fishing event on Tuesday, and I took my daughter there, and Jeff asked me to put a worm on the hook.
Yeah.
Like, just doing that was too much. So you talking about milking a cow? Nah, man.
I don't know what to expect whatsoever, but if you want to come out and watch Chase McCabe and I probably make a fool out of ourselves, Big Joe will also be emceeing the event.
Just get it on video. That's all I ask.
Right. That's what I've been told. My dad said he wanted a video. My fiance wants a video. 7988 asking, can we get this streamed? I don't know if it's going to be streamed anywhere, but if you want to come out to the Nashville Fair over at the fairgrounds, me and Chase are going to compete against other, local news personalities. I think it's most of the TV stations out there. So we'll see how it goes. If I had to guess, we're going to finish dead last. Like that's my guess. I'm going to go in confidently. I hope that I can be a good cow milker, but I have
half of the battle, right?
I have
having the confidence.
absolutely no faith that we are going to actually be able to compete in this thing. So anyway, if somebody out there has experience and has any tips for me, I'll take it. Also, get your questions in for TD, 615-737-1025. We're going to do our Talk to TD segment coming up next. So you can text or call. Again, 615-737-1025. 7988 says, I'm sure YouTube has a tutorial. Maybe I'll have to look that up this week or tonight because we're heading over there, 7 o'clock. We'll see how we do. 7988 also says the offense did not help Cam out. Cam's successes felt despite the whole offensive section of the Titans. I think that's a good point too. Like you look at play calling, offensive line play, wide receiver play. there really wasn't a whole lot. Towards the end of the game, they couldn't get a run game going. Cam Ward going to need a little bit more assistance on Sunday against the Rams.
Yeah, he's going to need a lot more assistance on Sunday against the Rams. And like you said, get him in a rhythm, run the football, play action. I mean, you got to get that play action working. And look, you don't have to run the football super effectively to do that, but you just got to establish the threat of the run, right? And so, I get the run on first down, the second down, but it puts you in third and long.
Yeah.
So, why not quick pass, something on first down, and now you're at 2nd and 6, and you can say, okay,
right.
You know what? Let's run the football.
Yep.
You get 2 yards. Now it's 3rd and 4, and it's like, okay, I have the option to either run the ball or play action or just spread it out and do it. It's just so much manageable when you're more effective on 1st and 2nd down.
Right.
And, oh, by the way, don't get a penalty, right?
Yeah.
Because then that distorts the whole process. And it's just, these are things that they have to figure out how to do.
Right. And one of the penalties that isn't being talked about a ton is Kevin Zeitler jumping on 3rd and 1, ended up being 3rd and 6, and then Tony Pollard fumbles on that play.
And Zeitler's a veteran. You can't have that.
Right. Top Tier on the YouTube chat also says, I feel like they could have taken more advantage of Denver's linebackers. Didn't have Dre Greenlaw out there with the tight ends. I agree. Like, Gunnar Helm got 2 targets in the first quarter, and then we didn't see him the rest of the day.
Yeah. Singleton had good coverage on that first one, but still, you're right. They could have taken advantage.
Right. I mean, Singleton, the play, even though we think it was a catch on the play they challenged, Singleton getting a hand in there and just making the ball move enough that the officials changed the call. Like, that is a great play. Mm-hmm. He's a good player. Yeah. The Broncos defense is full of guys outside of Patrick Surtain who are maybe a little unsung. Like, I don't know if everybody knew Nick Bonito was one of the best pass rushers in the NFL heading into this year, but he gets $120 million and he ends up basically lighting up Dan Moore all day long. So,
and you know what? While you're talking about that, Brian Callahan said, hey, he gets paid a lot of money to do that. Dan Moore, he doesn't get paid as much, but he gets paid a lot of money to slow that down.
Yep.
And so, yeah, there's growth that has to happen. Right. I think that's really the best way to put it. There's growth that has to happen. And, and I get you want to be, hey, I want to make sure I protect my guys, et cetera, but you got to call a spade a spade.
Right.
And Dan Moore has to play better. He has to.
The conversation around Dan Moore is like, this has always been the book on him, is that he's fine against average pass rushers, but he struggles against the top guys. It's like, hey, you got to at least put up a fight, because there were too many reps on Sunday where it was just instant pressure on Cam Ward from the blind side. Cannot have that this week against the Rams. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Jake Lyman, Turron Davenport with you. Let's get to talk to TD. 615-737-1025. If you have questions for TD, this can be about anything. And we do have a couple of cow milking tips on the text line. We can get to those too. If you have questions for TD about anything, Titans, NFL, college football, Mets, life, get them in. 615-737-1025. You can text or call our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Jake Lyman, Turron Davenport, Parker Kelly, second hour coming up here on Next Man Up, 1025 The Game. Second hour, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Turron, Davenport, Parker Kelly with you. It is a TD Thursday, and we are going to talk to TD. You are going to talk to TD, I should say. Get your questions in, 615-737-1025. We've already got plenty on the text line. You can call as well. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
Before we get started, I just want to drop two things. First, and from the bottom of my heart, September is Hunger Action Month. If you could do anything to help somebody, just even if it's one person, you're going to McDonald's, you buying a quarter pounder meal or whatever you may buy, buy an extra one and give it to someone. That little bit will make a huge difference. And then also what we're starting to do, we did it last Friday. We're going to do it tomorrow, and we're going to do it next Friday and the Friday after that. My goal every Friday for this month is to feed at least 20 people.
Wow.
Right. So let's do that, man. And anybody that's my messages are open, whether it's Twitter, IG, whatever, message me, Facebook, message me if you want to help out. I could, look at some ways to help out this week. What I want to do is distribute 20 fried chicken meals. Right. And so we're putting that together. Teresa Walker has already helped. So shout out to her for that. Also, today is 9/11. And this is a day that, one of the biggest tragedies ever in the history of our country happened. It's a little personal to me. I am fortunate enough to not have lost anybody in that tragedy. But I will say, as a kid living in New York, living in Queens, my mom, she used to work in the towers.
Wow.
And so I remember going to those towers on the subway, on the train and looking at the concourse and just like, and it's crazy because I used to go to work with her and people in the building babysat me, right? And so like those towers, that was like my playground,
right?
So it's a little personal,
and
seeing that. So just this is one of those times where you got to say like, hey man, I'm here, no bad days. I was thinking about it this morning, rushing here, right? And I'm like, I'm rushing here, but you know what? There may be a reason why I'm slowed down. Because look at that man that bought a new, he had a pair of shoes, right? And it had a hole in it and he had to get a new pair. So he stopped at the store to get a new pair. That stop kept him from getting to the building where he probably would have perished. So I just wanted to get that off my chest. That's something I think is important to look at and just have perspective. And like I said, if you could help somebody on the hunger side of things, do that, please.
Yeah, reach out to TD if you want to help out. And of course, 24 years ago, one of the biggest tragedies in American history, and we never forget, and we remember all those lost today. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. If you want to reach out to TD, I can also facilitate that as it is Hunger Awareness Month. So make sure you're helping people out there. Let's get to some of the questions for Turron Davenport. Bob in Mount Juliet starts us off. He says, TD, do you think Callahan's offseason program worked after Simmons didn't go and the team got penalized for over 100 yards?
Look, man, it looked like it didn't in the first game.
It is only game one.
Yeah.
But not a good start.
Not a good start at all. I'm not going to say it's broken and it didn't work. The first one, I don't know that he was all the way in the neutral zone. Of course, the guard jumped, boom, boom, and you had that. And then the last one, you gotta reel it back. That's just Jeffrey Simmons, just kind of being Jeffrey Simmons. He's an aggressive person, but he admitted it. Don't do dumb to hurt the team, and he's right. And that's I think the program will pay off in the long run, but the initial results.
Yeah, it's got to be better this week. You can't have over 100 yards in penalties. You can't almost outgain your offense with penalty yardage like they did on Sunday. Ron asks, I know Cam's a rookie, and I believe he talked about this actually yesterday. How much freedom does Cam have to audible out of a bad play?
Great question. He does have freedom. It's not the full extent yet, because when I asked Brian Callahan about that, one of the things he said was, I do like the way he audible to get us out of a bad situation, but there's a general understanding that it's not just that. It's not just, trying to audible into the big play. is just as important to get you out of bad situations. And that's where he pointed to that fourth down and some of the other times. So it's still going to increase more, but it's as they find that balance of how to, make sure he's audible and into the right situation.
And one of the things you saw from Cam Ward that made you feel really good on Sunday was he did have command at the line of scrimmage. I mean, he was out there making sure guys were in the right place. He was setting the protections. I thought that was an important aspect of Cam Ward's debut. Is it looked like he was in control out there at the line of scrimmage. Let's go to our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Our friend Adam from Portland is called in. Adam, thanks for calling. Go ahead.
TD, I told you the Broncos wasn't nothing, dude. I'll tell you that.
The Broncos weren't nothing, but they had 4 turnovers and kept the Titans to 6 points out of. But the Titans had 140 yards, but the Broncos weren't.
The Broncos
nothing.
Defense.
Come on, stop it.
I'm being funny.
Okay.
Bo Nix sucks. I'll tell you that. Bo Nix sucks. Anyway, it's fine. Listen, check this out. So, is there anything? And I'll ask you because I know you're a very optimistic guy. And you'll make sure he's treated fairly. But I asked Corey Curtis, and Corey Curtis was like, he's better than Wisenhunt. Wisenhunt sucked. Tell me one thing that's better about him than Wisenhunt. I want to know any redeeming quality I can hang on to with this coach to make me think he's not going to ruin my young quarterback. It's basically like if you got a sister that's dating somebody that's terrible, and you're like, he's terrible, and she's like, I love him, he's great. No, he's not. We all see it. It's the same thing. It's terrible. I can't. I want something to hang on to with this coach, but I don't know what it is.
Well, Adam, talking you off this bridge is going to be a tough assignment, but I'll say the one thing is, from what I understand, Ken Wisenhunt was a jerk and felt like he knew everything.
That is what Corey was implying yesterday.
Brian Callahan doesn't have that attribute, so maybe that. I'm not sure what else to tell you because there's still the jury is still out. The book is still set to be written.
Right.
Honestly.
When you're 3-15, like, things haven't gone well in a lot of different aspects. And I know Adam wants us to find one kind of redeeming thing with Brian Callahan, and it's tough when you're 3-15.
Corey Curtis texted me, said he could give a really long list if he wants it. So Adam in Portland, the next time Corey Curtis is on, call him and ask that question. He has a different perspective from me in that he was here for both of them.
He covered it. So yeah, Corey's on Wednesdays. We can we can dive into that next week.
We'll turn into a Wicked Wednesday.
Yes,
Wisenhunt Wicked Wednesday.
What an analogy from Adam from Portland.
Yeah, sister who
dating the wrong guy.
Yeah,
man.
Been there again. Yeah, my older sister. We've had a few of those. She's found a guy who's better at this point. Skylar on our text line says, TD, I might be delusional because I've been suffering from cheering for the Titans my whole life, but I like Ward. After watching the mess on Sunday of the coach trying all he can to screw it up and the receivers and O-line trying their best to lose the game, should we be worried about the Titans screwing Ward up rather than developing a young, promising rookie quarterback?
No, you know what? I think the big part of all this is Ward has the makeup to kind of elevate the situation, right? And I think he's someone that can rise above all the nonsense. I also would put a lot of trust in Mike Borgonzi. He's going to put this thing together. And the reason why I say that is because, I'll never forget the first conversation with him, the one-on-one at the Senior Bowl, and I asked him about roster construction. He was like, man, it's about the trenches. We're going to start there. I'm like, okay. And lo and behold, what did he do? He went out and signed Dan Moore Jr. He went out and signed Kevin Zeitler. You know what I mean? So I think he's a man of his word. He's calculated. He comes from a very, very good program in the Chiefs. So I would say they're not going to mess it up on the strength of Borgonzi. And I think, Callahan is a lot like Will Levis to me last year, where it was like you saw things in practice, you saw things, in the building, but it just didn't carry over to the game.
Right.
And I think once he could figure out how to move everything, the process on to game day, I think he's going to be fine.
Yeah, and that's what I compared it to on Monday. Was that game on Sunday felt like the Bears game for Will Levis last year, of like we were giving him a chance to prove he can be the guy, and the first impression was not very good.
Mm-hmm.
Will Levis never recovered from that. Brian Callahan has a chance to do that on Sunday. Going back to Skyler's question, I did see a tweet. I don't know if you saw this, but after the film cut up got released of Cam Ward's debut, and you see all the drops and some of the mistakes, and somebody tweeted, we're getting a real life example of what if Patrick Mahomes was drafted to the Bears. And I don't know if it seems a little bit of a stretch to make that leap already after one game, but that's what you're hoping to avoid, is just having a guy who's promising, but putting him in a horrible situation. They've got to figure out a lot of the stuff on the offensive side.
Yeah, they got to get it figured out. If J.C. Latham doesn't play, it's going to make it even worse, because, if that's the case, man, and I'm Jared Verse, hey, look, man, I'm not going to the right side. Just keep me on the left, because I want to go against whoever it is, Ali Udo or Crenshaw Dixon, who I doubt it would be, Ojukwu, whoever is at right tackle. Hance, yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see if J.C. Latham can get out there. It's a big day for him. If he can get back out on the practice field, even in a limited fashion, there might be a chance for him to play on Sunday. But if he's DNP again today, kind of seems like a stretch that he's going to be ready for Sunday. 615-737-1025. Continue to get your questions in for TD. We've got a few more on the text line. You can text or call 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Turron, Davenport, Parker Kelly, broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, with a buzz is always about great service. Next man up here on 102.5 The Game. Got the devil went down to Georgia coming back. Parker said he's coming back with something really country to get me ready for my cow milking competition tonight. Jake Lyman, Turron, Davenport, Parker Kelly. We've got a couple of tips on the text line for me. 0862 seems to have experience in this. He says, from the top, work your way down. You have to roll your thumb in between your index finger and middle finger. I'm not going to do that on camera, actually. We'll save that for tonight. Wes from Hermitage says, here's my tip. Just hold on loosely, but don't let go. If you cling too tightly, you're going to lose control. He also says morning TD. Let's get back to questions for TD. I'm ready to just wing it tonight over at the Nashville Fair, see what we can do. Andy asks, I feel using Xavier Restrepo as a sure-handed slot for Cam would be a great move. They're in lockstep. Your thoughts? Do you think, I think it might be a little too early, but do you think there's a chance maybe we see Restrepo come up from the practice squad at some point?
I think it's way early to look at that. He's continuing to work. I had to talk to him a little bit yesterday, but I wouldn't say that that's something to be in the cards as of right now.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the connection between Cam Ward and Xavier Restrepo is a little bit overblown. It's like at some point he's got to build the connection with the guys who actually are going to be out there on the field for him. Like Calvin Ridley had a bad game on Sunday, but I don't believe that he's just stone hands now. Like he's gonna figure it out. And I think you got to give the guys who are actually on the 53 a chance to go make some plays with Cam Ward before you just go to the safety valve of Xavier Restrepo. Kevin asked, TD, if Callahan continues to do dumb stuff on offense and gets fired after the season, what head coach would you like to see hired? I think it's a little early for that. We talked to Mike McCarthy earlier this week of like, that's the obvious connection with Chad Brinker if he was going to bring in someone with some experience.
Mm-hmm. And I've heard the Matt Nagy reference, right, coming from the Chiefs, another go round. So maybe he will have learned from his first time. Obviously, the Borgonzi connection.
Right.
I tell you, the hot one lately has been John Gruden. Hey, that would be good for business. Now, I'm not sure how good it would be for the success of the team, but that's one that people have mentioned. I don't know. I mean, what if they Cliff Kingsbury, is that an option?
If you wanted to get back to being a head coach, which I think this year he turned down a bunch of interviews, right?
Yeah.
Because he was just happy being the OC in Washington.
Yeah, I think he wanted to continue to get things going with Jaden Daniels. He's a guy I would want to work with too, so I get it.
Yeah, this is probably more of the question out there, and we've seen this a couple times this week. TD, if Callie gets fired, I want Denard Wilson as the interim head coach. We shouldn't let a young, talented coach like him go to waste. What are your thoughts? I like Denard Wilson, but typically the move, if you fire a coach midseason, which we're not there yet, again, this is all a little premature, but if you fire a coach midseason, typically it's someone who's not in a play calling position because you don't want to not only make your head coach a little bit weaker, but also make one of your coordinators weaker.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing. You don't want to put him in a situation where now he has to oversee everything in addition to calling the defense. I think ideally, if they were to, I hate even talking about this.
Right.
It's so premature.
Early.
But if a move were to be made, I would probably go to John Fossil.
Yeah.
Right. That's the direction I would go. He's done it before. It's been a while since a special teams coach was made a head coach. We've seen it go well, right? In the case of John Harbaugh. I know Deuce Staley, when he was not coordinator, but he was, he oversaw a lot of it. He was a hot candidate. I know the Eagles were really, really high on him. Obviously went a different direction, whatever. But I don't think it's a conversation that we really should be having at this point. Now, if we get into week 4 and they're 0-4, yeah, you know what? Let's really start talking about it.
If you get 2 or 3 weeks down the road and the same problems are happening, penalties are bad, game management is bad, play calling's not good. Like if all of that keeps on happening and there's no improvement, then yeah, we can start to have this conversation. But it is a little bit premature. And again, like Denard Wilson, he called a good game on Sunday and his defense looked good, but making him the interim head coach doesn't really help him in any way. It's usually the special teams coordinator, or if you have a position coach with head coaching experience. Guess what? The only position coach with head coaching experience for the Titans is Brian Callahan's father, who is not going to take the interim head coaching job from his son.
No.
Tyler and Franklin. This is an interesting one. Would you rather have the combination of Sean Payton and Bo Nix or Callahan and Ward? He says Callahan Ward. I would probably say Peyton Nix.
Yeah, I would go Peyton Nix.
The margin between Sean Payton and Brian Callahan is not great, or like it's wide. And I would say I'd take Ward over Nix right now, but I don't think it would be that big of a gap that it makes up for the gap between Peyton and Callahan.
Right. That's where the mismatch is right there.
Donovan from Franklin talking about Mike McDaniel. What are your thoughts on what's going on down there in Miami? They looked horrible on Sunday.
It looked good for a moment, but that thing has just like steadily gone downhill. I don't know what's going on there, because like they have the players, they have the talent.
Right.
It's just not coming together. And I don't know if there's leadership issues with Mike McDaniel or what it is, but something's not right, because that's too much talent to be losing like that.
Right. I mean, whether it falls on the coach or the quarterback, I think McDaniel for sure is going to be gone at the end of the year unless they turn it around quick. That they got blown out by the Colts, and it was on the day that they honored Jim Irsay. So maybe there was a little bit of an emotional factor there, but they did not look good. And the way I look at it, Tua's money that he's owed probably means he's going to be around next year.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you bring in somebody else who maybe takes the starting quarterback role from him, but I think it's $90 million in dead cap. And it's like, yeah, you could eat that, but is it really worth it?
Yeah.
That was just a bad contract in general.
Yeah. And it's one of the ones where they're like, hey, what else can we do? We gotta pay him, and I think that's the way that they looked at it. And it's coming back to bite them. And it's unfortunate, because you thought that Mike McDaniel and Tua matchup was going to be really good going forward, but it just hasn't worked.
Did Will Levis and the Titans end the Mike McDaniel era there? Because they were in control of the AFC East heading into that Monday Night Football game 2 years ago, and the Titans came back from 13 down or 14 down in the last 4 minutes of that game. They blew the division, lost in the playoffs, and they really haven't been good since. You could say Will Levis was the one who ended the Mike McDaniel era
broke it down
in Miami. So Colin asks, hey TD, offenses on the road in a hostile environment will sometimes simplify their play calls to single words instead of calling out each route. Have you heard of this before? And should Callahan have done that against the Broncos to get them in and out of the huddle quicker and simplify it?
Well, they did have word references for their play calls and things like that, but you got to be careful going single words, and they didn't do that from what I understand. You got to be careful doing that, because look, the guys on the other side, they're smart also, and they start to adjust. I talked to Dan Moore about that, and he said, a lot of times he's been on the road and they have, the quick phrases to change up the play, and they had to change it mid-game because the defenders were starting to catch on and knew what the phrases meant. So we're talking phrases, words. Nah, you can't do that.
Watching Cam Ward in the huddle, it looked like he was mad every time he was calling the play. But I guess that's just kind of the way it is, of like having to rattle off all that stuff. But I think it was Mark Sanchez was saying, like, man, Cam Ward's fired up in the huddle. I'm like, I think he's just giving the play call.
Yeah.
But I thought that was interesting. And again, we kind of talked about how Cam Ward looked good in terms of controlling the huddle, commanding the line of scrimmage.
Mm-hmm.
Last one here. 6240 asks, any word on Will Levis's surgery and how rehab is going? I know he's not around the team right now, right? And
no,
I would guess that's probably not going to change.
I don't think that's going to change at all. I don't think he's gonna. I think he's gonna do his rehab and stuff someplace else and get back for next year.
Yeah, that's kind of what it seemed like was just, hey, we don't really need you to be around the quarterback room this year. I'm sure Will Levis is ready for a fresh start. So I'm sure his surgery and rehab is going well. It's just not going on in Nashville. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. If you have any more questions for TD, we can get to them throughout the show. We are going to move on to what is a fun slate in week 2 of the NFL season. Starting tonight, Commanders and Packers, between two teams that think they are NFC contenders. We'll talk about that one. Also, a Super Bowl rematch coming up on Sunday. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. This Saturday, MTSU will take on Nevada at 4 o'clock. Catch all of the action on Totally Hits 93.3 with coverage also available on the Totally Hits Nashville app and at totallyhitsnashville.com. Jake Lyman, Turron Davenport, Parker Kelly, next man up here on 102.5 The Game. Heading to the Titans game this Sunday, be sure to stop by John Bon Jovi's downtown before the Titans take on the Rams for the 102.5 The Game pregame show with Big Joe, Derek Mason, and Chris Sanders from 9:30 to 11:30. Pregame show is brought to you by Parman Tractor and Equipment, Old National Bank, Circus Sportsbook Kentucky, and Tennessee Brewworks. Speaking of Derek Mason, I meant to get to this during our Talk to T segment. Lots of people asking, how is Derek's chair?
It's good. It's good. Yeah. You know what? He normally has the heating pad on there too, that's good for my hip, man.
Yeah.
But yeah. It's not on here this time.
Yeah. Derek writing in Sharpie on there. Still not quite sure about the decision on that one. Derek chair, don't take out of studio, but it is a nice chair. It is a nice chair. We upgraded all the chairs in here a couple weeks ago. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. If you have thoughts on the Titans, we are going to get into the NFL as a whole. And again, Andrew Allegretta from Vanderbilt Football will join us for his weekly visit coming up at 11 a.m. TD, tonight, fun first Thursday night game. I know last week we had the opener on NBC, but in terms of Amazon Prime Thursday night football, this is the opener. Commanders and Packers tonight. These are two teams that both believe they can challenge the Eagles for the top spot in the NFC. Commanders coming off that run to the NFC Championship game. Young, exciting quarterback in Jaden Daniels. They handled their business against the Giants on Sunday. Maybe not super flashy, but they won the game by a couple touchdowns. Mm-hmm. For the Packers, maybe one of the more impressive wins of the weekend in week one. Really was never in doubt against the Detroit Lions, who won 15 games last year. So this one, it should be fun. We'll get to see Micah Parsons out there in prime time for the first time.
Yeah, that's going to be fun to watch. I mean, Micah Parsons, you talk about effort and just, athleticism and just versatility. He's a fun guy to watch. So I'm looking forward to that. Obviously, Jordan Love, he's a guy I really like. Matthew Golden. I want to see those guys get busy, and it's a good opportunity to see this team, who I think is a contender. In fact, I got a little reactionary after the Parsons trade, and I say they're going to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. I have the Ravens and Packers with the Ravens winning it.
Yeah, the Packers, they put themselves in the conversation with that move because Jordan Love is a promising young quarterback. They've got weapons around him, even though none of them may be superstars. You hope that Matthew Golden, who you took in the first round, ends up being a wide receiver one type guy. But like Jaden Reed, Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson, all those guys are competent wide receivers. And now you bring in a star on defense, a playmaker in Micah Parsons. It puts them right in the thick of things with the Eagles and the Lions and the Commanders as teams that can compete to represent the NFC. The Commanders, I'm not super high on them this year. I think they are a borderline playoff team. And I heard Charles Robinson say this on Robbie and Rex Road this morning, that I think that NFC Championship run maybe sped up their timeline.
Absolutely.
And made them believe that they were further along than they were. Like the Titans back in 2019. They made the AFC Championship run, and the thought process was, oh, we got there, we'll get back there. And they never did. I'm in a little bit of wait and see mode with the Commanders because CJ Stroud, after such a great rookie year, took a little bit of a step back last year. Jaden Daniels looked fine on Sunday against the Giants, but this is a big game for him in prime time on a short week against one of the other teams competing for that number one seed in the NFC, for a chance to represent the NFC. I think this is going to be a fun one tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one to watch. I mean, anytime you got two quarterbacks like McDaniel and Jordan Love, like Jaden Daniel and Jordan Love, I think it's fun to watch from that perspective.
Right.
But then I like the defensive aspect to it because the Packers defensive coordinator quietly has done an awesome job, and that's without.
That's the former BC head coach, Jeff Hafley.
Jeff Hafley, yeah. I think when you look at what he's been able to do, obviously Micah Parsons, but Rashawn Gary's in the mix too, and you got Xavier McKinney, their safety.
Yep.
I want to see them go against Debo Samuel and Jordan. Jade. I keep saying McDaniel for some reason, but Jaden Daniel. I want to see like how this all works out.
Right, and is it Edgerrin Cooper on the other side too?
Yes.
That dude, he's an underrated player for that Packers team.
That's the only inside backer in last year's draft class that I liked more than Cedric Gray.
Really?
Yeah. I fell in love with Cedric Gray watching him.
Cooper, was he Texas A&M?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was I think, was he second round?
I think so. I think he was rated as one of the top inside linebackers, but for that position, they usually don't go in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
He was drafted. So wait, I wish this would just pop up. Yeah, second round, 45th pick last year out of Texas A&M.
Yeah.
So he is a good player. This is a Packers team that without Micah Parsons, there wasn't a whole lot of star power. Like there were names that you knew, but it wasn't like there was a superstar. Now you've got that guy. Micah Parsons looked healthy. I know there were concerns after the trade about his back injury, but he got a sack on Sunday against the Lions.
Effort sack.
Right. Yeah, that was a slow developing play, just chase down Jared Goff.
Mm-hmm.
The Packers, I'm not 100% sure that we're going to see them make a run in the playoffs because Jordan Love, he really hasn't done it in that space yet. But you now have the pieces around him that it's like in the NFC when you're not facing Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson in the playoffs.
It's not a gauntlet
it's
to
like,
get to the.
If you can surround Jordan Love with the right pieces, this is a team that can beat a team like the Eagles, who Jalen Hurts is a really good quarterback, but he isn't quite on that plane of Mahomes, Allen, Jackson right now.
Yeah, he's not quite on that plane of Mahomes. I still put him there with Jackson and Allen and Burrow, just because the results he produced. Like he may not give you 400 or 500 passing yards, but
to be fair, he is the reigning Super Bowl champion.
Yeah.
But you look at what he's surrounded with.
Yeah.
And I know AJ Brown didn't do much in the opener, but AJ Brown still an elite wide receiver. Saquon Barkley, the best running back in football.
That's the cheat code.
Right.
Barkley in that O-line. That's the cheat code.
Yes. And Devontae Smith, maybe one of the best wide receiver twos in the league. It's like they've surrounded him with the perfect situation to go out and win Super Bowls. And Jalen Hurts is good enough to win you those games.
Yeah.
The NFC's, it feels pretty wide open. The Eagles are obviously the favorite. The Lions did not look good on Sunday, and I'm wondering if they're going to regress. I think they're not going to be a bad team this year, but it does kind of feel like they missed their window last season. When you were 15-2, you were the number 1 seed. You would have hosted all the way to the Super Bowl, and you choked.
Yeah.
And it kind of feels like they've got to – obviously, there are still pieces there that can be there for the long term with Amon-Ra and Jahmyr Gibbs and Aiden Hutchinson, and Penei Sewell. But I'm wondering if you got to find a new quarterback beyond Jared Goff in the next couple of years to reopen that window.
I think at some point there's going to be a deterioration of the skills, but you also have to continue to play to your quarterback. Now, I didn't see all of the Bears games, so I don't know the Lions game, so I don't know 100% the play calling.
Right.
But we do know one of the things that Ben Johnson made sure he did was showcase what Goff does best, and that's the play action.
Yep.
He's a lot like how Arthur Smith was using Tannehill.
Ryan Tannehill.
You work to that guy's powers, and that's the way that they did it. Now, this new coordinator, I'm not sure how much they did that, but you definitely have to get back to the basics and do that, right? And because they have such a strong rushing attack, that helps being able to, work the play action. You got Amon-Ra St. Brown, one of the best route runners from the slot.
Yep.
And then you look at Jamison Williams, who signed a big deal. On top of that, Sam Laporta, my fantasy tight end. But you look as you could attack the field in all phases, right? You got the deep threat, you got the intermediate threat, you got the short game if you want that, you got the speed rusher, you got the power rusher, and then you got the quarterback play action on top of that. You got to put all that together, and on top of that, you got the solid offensive line.
Yeah, the Lions do kind of mirror the Titans from a couple of years ago. And it was funny, before the Titans-Lions game, I got asked to go on a Detroit show up there, and they were asking about like the outside perspective on Jared Goff, and I didn't realize that they kind of felt the same way about Jared Goff as Titans fans did about Ryan Tannehill, where it's like they'd pull up the graphics of Ryan Tannehill's stats are better than Patrick Mahomes over the last 2 years, but he doesn't get the respect. And I said to them, like, Jared Goff is a perfectly good quarterback to win you games, but he's not an MVP. And they were like kind of offended by that. They're like, why can't he be the MVP? And I realized that, yeah, they feel the same way about Goff as Titans fans did about Tannehill.
Yeah.
And we'll see how much longer Jared Goff can be the guy for them, especially making that kind of money. Maybe they do look to go get somebody on a rookie contract because they're going to have to shell out a whole lot of money for those pieces. Sewell, Hutchison. You mentioned Williams just got the deal. Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown. There are so many guys who need to get paid. Not sure you can do that while paying Jared Goff. 615. Go ahead.
Trade for Will Levis?
Maybe. Although they just got rid of Hendon Hooker, who I've been told is a way better quarterback than Will Levis. So, maybe not. 615-737-1025 is the phone number if you have thoughts. Let's get into the Super Bowl rematch coming up on Sunday. What a game. Sunday afternoon, not even in prime time, but Eagles and Chiefs coming up Sunday. Chiefs are 0-1, now have to face Philly, who just lit them up in the Super Bowl 7 months ago. Can they avoid an 0-2 start? We'll talk about it coming up next. Jake Lyman, Turron Davenport, Parker Kelly, next man up, 1025 The Game. Finishing up hour number 2 on the Thursday edition of Next Man Up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Turron, Davenport, Parker, Kelly. This weekend, Vanderbilt will face ranked South Carolina on the road. Pre-game starts at 5 o'clock on Saturday on 102.5 The Game. Kickoff is at 6:45. Vanderbilt football brought to you by Gary Force Acura, Jimmy Kelly's Steakhouse, and Smoky Mountain Tops. We will talk with the voice of the Vanderbilt Commodores coming up next. At the top of the hour, Andrew Allegretta joining us for his weekly visit. We'll recap the win in Blacksburg over Virginia Tech, outscoring the Hokies 34-0 in the second half, and look ahead to that big game in Columbia coming up Saturday night. Also, more Titans talk with TD coming up in the final hour. But TD, big game on Sunday. This is a weekend. I was looking through the NFL schedule. There's not a whole lot of big games. Tonight's a big one. Commanders, Packers. We just went through that. Two of the top teams in the NFC. But you do get a Super Bowl rematch Sunday afternoon. Eagles and Chiefs. And this is a big one for Kansas City. I understand that it's the Chiefs. They kind of always start a little slow, and the questions start to rise of, is Mahomes finally hitting a wall here? Like, maybe this isn't the year for the Chiefs, and they usually figure it out. But 0-2 is tough, although, you look at the opponents, Chargers and Eagles, not the easiest start for Andy Reid and company.
No, it's definitely not the easiest start. And, when you look at not having Rashee Rice, that doesn't help also. So this team, the Chiefs have to continuously make the best out of a tough at best receiving situation. And somehow Patrick Mahomes just figures it out. And Travis Kelce, his ability is continuing to go downhill. He's not the same player, so it's going to be harder to overcome those types of things. But then on top of that, you look at a team like the Eagles, like the Lions, they could attack you every way possible. Because Dallas Goedert is a solid tight end.
Yeah,
I think you look at the cheat code and Saquon Barkley in the offensive line. You got A.J. Brown. You got Devontae Smith. And, oh, by the way, Jahan Dotson is starting to emerge as a deep threat as well. So you're seeing some good things for that offense. And I think Jalen Hurts and what he brings, throwing the football down the field, making good decisions, throwing the ball on time in the intermediate passing game, and also being able to pull it and run as a legit threat. It's going to be a problem for the Chiefs as it is for every team that faces the Eagles.
Yeah, the Chiefs, every year, there's always the question of, is there enough around Patrick Mahomes? And this year, you look around, especially with Rashee Rice suspended for the first 6 games, there's not a whole lot that gets you excited about this Chiefs team. They've still got pieces on defense. Chris Jones, Nick Bolton, Trent McDuffie. Like, there are good players on that team.
Mm-hmm.
But if you compared the Chiefs roster with a lot of the other contenders, I think really Patrick Mahomes raises the Chiefs up, which he's done basically since he was in the league. This is a big game for them. But as we talked about, TD, we did a segment called Lies Are Legit on Tuesday, looking back at some of the storylines from week 1. And it's like, even though the Chiefs don't look like the Chiefs that have gone to the Super Bowl, 4 straight years, it's like, do you really bet against them? Because every year there's a moment like this. Like, if they lose on Sunday, all of the shows are going to be leading with, the national shows are going to be leading with, is the Chiefs dynasty coming to an end? They're 0-2, and they always find a way. When you get to January, Mahomes finds a way. It's gotten to the point where it's like, you cannot pick against them until somebody proves they can beat them. And if they start 0-2, I still think they're going to find a way to win that division, because they've done it for 10 straight years, and they're going to find a way in the playoffs. But I don't think they're going to start 0-2. I think they're going to win this game on Sunday.
Oh, you got to win it. Well, it's at home too.
It's in Kansas City, which is a tough place to play. The Eagles are really good. The Eagles are the better team for sure. But I just think there's something about playing an Arrowhead. Chiefs are 0-1. I think they're going to find a way to win that game.
I got the Eagles in that one.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's going to be a tough assignment. And Mahomes, as you said, and this is why when you talk about, and he should be the MVP every year.
Yeah.
Frankly.
He's gotten to LeBron territory of, it's like he has to do something just incredible beyond what we've ever seen to even be considered for the MVP.
Yeah, because the Chiefs don't even make the playoffs without him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They don't. So,
I mean, you look at their receiver room, especially with Rashee Rice, suspended, maybe one of the worst in the league. Like, there's not a whole lot there. Xavier Worthy's a good player, but he's injured too. I don't think he's going to play on Sunday. Or
no, I don't think he is.
Yeah, I don't think he is. So, like, and Travis Kelce is not Travis Kelce anymore. Like, he's still a fine tight end, but it's not this guy who's going to, anytime Patrick Mahomes needs a play, Kelce's not that guy anymore.
Yeah.
The defense is still good. The offensive line needs a decent amount of work. I agree with you. I think the Chiefs are not a playoff team without Patrick Mahomes, but they have Patrick Mahomes, so no need to worry about it. I think they are going to win this game on Sunday. It's just something with the Chiefs' magic, and I know during the regular season, it's not there quite as much. Like, Josh Allen against the Chiefs in the regular season is what, like 4-1, something like that.
Yeah.
Like, he beats the Chiefs, but in the biggest moments, Mahomes always is able to do it. I mean, he's 3-0, 4-0 against Down in the playoffs.
And that's the whole thing. I mean, really, frankly, the only guy to beat Mahomes in the playoffs, you know, is that guy that looks like Kevin from Home Alone.
Joe Burrow.
You know what I mean? It's Joe Burrow.
The only two,
and they went into Kansas City.
Right. The only 3 quarterbacks to beat Mahomes in the playoffs are now Brady Burrow, and Jalen Hurts.
Oh, who?
Jalen Hurts.
Ah.
And in the AFC playoffs, it's just Brady and Burrow.
Mm-hmm.
Allen and Jackson, they've gotten their shots at him. Jackson only won, right? The only time he's played Mahomes in the playoffs was the AFC Championship 2 years ago, where L'Jarius Sneed punched the ball at from Zay Flowers.
They ran the ball 6 times.
Right. I forgot about that. I mean, that's a big reason why they brought in Derrick Henry, was because of that game. It's like, hey, we need somebody who can run the rock. And we saw on Sunday Night Football that Derrick Henry is still Derrick Henry, but he did fumble in a pretty big spot there towards the end. 615-737-1025. Going to be another fun weekend of football. The NFL, we got Commanders, Packers tonight. We've got Chiefs, Eagles on Sunday, and we've talked all week about the big games in college football. Not just even in the state of Tennessee. You've got Notre Dame A&M. You got Florida LSU. But you do have those 2 big games in the state of Tennessee. Vols taking on Georgia in Neyland, and Vanderbilt trying to get to 3-0. They'll have to snap a 16-game losing streak to South Carolina in Columbia. We are going to talk to the voice of Vanderbilt football coming up next. Andrew Allegretta going to make his weekly visit to the program. We'll recap what was, it was a dominant game on Saturday. Did you watch any of that, TD? Vanderbilt, Virginia Tech?
I didn't get to see that, but yeah, to go in there in that environment and win, that's quite an accomplishment.
I should say dominant second half, because Virginia Tech was up 20-10 at halftime. Vandy outgained Virginia Tech 321-21 in the second half. 300-yard difference, and they outscored them 34-0. So we'll get Andrew Allegretta's thoughts on the big win. And again, huge game. Vandy will almost certainly be ranked if they can beat the Gamecocks on Saturday in Columbia. We'll get to that with Andrew coming up after this. Jake Lyman, Turron, Davenport, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Final hour on this Thursday. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Turron, Davenport, Parker Kelly with you, broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. We start off this hour by going to our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We are joined by the voice of Vanderbilt football, Andrew Allegretta, for his weekly visit to the program. Andrew, thanks for taking some time. I'm sure it's been a fun week with the Commodores now 2-0.
Yeah, but it doesn't stop, right? The machinery just keeps rolling right along. But it's been good. It's obviously been positive.
Right. Well, Saturday night, 20-10 at halftime, Commodores trailing, and just completely dominated the final 30 minutes of that game. 34-0 on the scoreboard, 321-21 in terms of yards gained. We were up there together, Andrew, but what did you see flip in that second half that allowed the Commodores to just run away with that game?
Man, that's hard to pinpoint. I'd be curious what you saw, too. It was a game like I've never seen before. Talking with both Coach Lee and Coach Beck, they both said the same thing in terms of in-game adjustments or how they wanted to approach the game differently, which was, number one, don't panic. And Coach Lee used the phrase, the calls are on the sheet, meaning basically if you catch your breath, if you look at it through a very calm lens, you can find the calls that will get you back into the ball game. And they certainly did that. From a strategic standpoint, obviously they blitzed the heck out of Kyron Drones, and that changed the game. I think it was 4 total 3-and-outs that Vanderbilt's defense forced against Virginia Tech, with the bulk of them coming at the end of the second quarter and the second half. And as far as the offense goes, they got Diego a little bit more involved in the running game. But more than anything, boy, they just got physical. They just really punched Virginia Tech in the teeth. And it was odd, I think you would say the same thing too, Jake, to watch Virginia Tech kind of, I'm cautious to say back down, but the way that Virginia Tech was not able to keep up with the physicality was really interesting throughout the course of that second half. But there's no doubt that the bully ball went to Vandy in the second half.
Yeah, it happened really fast. It felt like in a blink of an eye, it went from Vandy down 10 to up by 10 and in control of the game. And you saw Lane Stadium start to clear out. But for the majority of that game, that was a tough environment to play in. Now you turn around and go to Columbia. How do you think that experience playing in Lane Stadium on the road and controlling that game in the second half has prepared them for what is an even tougher opponent and maybe a tougher environment this weekend in Columbia?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I don't know. I am hopeful, and this is my 2 cents, Jake. I thought, and we talked about it in the booth too, that Diego was a little bit maybe more amped up than necessary at the start of that Virginia Tech game. That throw down the field on 2nd down and 2 felt out of the ordinary for him. It felt like he was trying to make a play. Regular Diego throws that out of bounds, and it's 3rd and 2, and you can try to pick up the first down that way. So I thought Diego had a lot of juices flowing, which you don't want to take that away from him. And they're not going to do that this week versus South Carolina. But hopefully for Diego, it's a little bit of a refresher for what those moments are at the start of the ball game and how you can settle in and how you can let your game dictate the environment, not the other way around. But we'll certainly learn. I think the environment at the start is probably just as challenging. It's hard for me to say one is more difficult. I'm certainly not on the field. But what will be the test, obviously, is the opponent. Like, can you take the fight to South Carolina the way that you took the fight to Virginia Tech? And if you can do that, then you can kind of neutralize the environment throughout the course of the game. But it's going to be the players and their execution that do that.
Well, Andrew, knowing the competitor that Diego Pavia is, here it is, you got a head-to-head against Lenore Sellers. What makes you think that he's going to be able to learn from last week and not come out and be overexcited and just play his game in this clash of top-tier quarterbacks?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess that's probably a Diego question. And my perception that Diego was dialed perhaps to 11 instead of 10 is just my own eyeballs.
Right.
But I've seen Diego now for the past year and a half, and he is currently the highest rated quarterback according to Pro Football Focus. He's like 90 something. That doesn't make him 100%. So he's got a couple of moments here or there where he tries to make a few plays. But I've never seen a competitor, to your point, Turron, that is able to get himself back to neutral and continue to fight in a positive headspace. Like if there's a mistake, it doesn't seem to drag him down in the way that other competitors sometimes struggle. So even if there is a mistake versus South Carolina, I don't know that it's going to drag him to a bad place. And I do think he's motivated to like be that quarterback versus Lenora Sellers. But I think kind of when he gets in between the lines, it's still about the black and gold. It's not like he's not trying to break out of the pocket to prove that he can be as elusive as Lenoris. Like he's trying to break out of the pocket to make a play and win a ball game. So I really don't think like when he's in the competitive headspace, like he can find the juices of motivation wherever he wants to find it. But like in the moment between the lines, I don't think it's really for him about anything other than his team being successful on any given play.
No, that's a great point. And typically, like once the game starts, that whole thing gets pushed aside. So I'm glad you mentioned that. I want to ask you this, though, because you look at what Bryce Henderson and his comments, we're going to go in and we're going to win. You look at the comments that Pavia had, before the season about Vanderbilt being the new wave of football here in Tennessee, et cetera. Do you think this team has to safeguard themselves from kind of allowing their britches to get too big, feeling themselves a little too much?
Well, Georgia State would suggest that they've got to be mindful of it. I don't think they played the way that they were supposed to play football versus Georgia State a season ago, and they lost. So sure, I think anybody's got to be mindful of that, don't you? You've got to execute the play, and if you're not focused, whoever you're going to play is going to execute better than you do. But I don't mind a lot of this conversation about what they believe that they are. I think one of the things that Coach Lee talked about during that Virginia Tech game is just the confidence that they had. Like you're down 20-10 in a hostile environment. You've made a turnover. You make another turnover. You're committing penalties. Like there's a lot of teams that would struggle to emotionally process that moment, and they've got the confidence to handle it. I don't think you have to. However, you're going to get yourself to confidence. To me, is fine. Again, once you get between the lines, you have to execute. So, to me, the conversation is fine. Like again, as competitors, it's kind of one of the things that's been interesting for me to watch from the sideline is all of this. Like, well, I don't know if Pavia should be talking about the national championship and telling Paul Feinbaum that that's the standard. No, I mean, what's he supposed to say? Like,
right.
You want somebody like that. Like, if you don't believe that you're the best at your position, the other guy is going to punch you in the teeth. So, and every game that you win, the stakes get a little bit higher. So everything that you say seems a little bit more dialed up. I think they have to safeguard themselves in their own headspace about making sure that they execute and they're focused on any given play, any given game. I'm not saying they should disrespect the opponent ever. But if someone is asking you, do you believe that you're the best at your position? Your answer should be yes. Otherwise, you're in trouble.
Talking with Andrew Allegretta, voice of Vanderbilt football, ahead of the Commodores game against South Carolina this weekend. Andrew, I think one thing that stood out to me watching the game recap from this past weekend against Virginia Tech and Clark's halftime post-game speeches and what we saw from the Netflix documentary is that every single player in that locker room hangs on every word Clark Lee says. Like they believe in the vision that he has for this program. How crucial has that been over the past 2 years to turning the results around for this team? And how have you seen that differ from maybe the first couple of years of Clark Lee's tenure?
So I asked David Culley, former Vanderbilt quarterback, of course, Houston Texans head coach there for a second, because he's around the program a bunch in the fall, and he's always there, and then he kind of comes back a little bit, and he's in and out. And I asked him this fall, like, what's different about this fall camp to you compared to the previous fall camps that you've seen? And he used the word maturity, meaning that everybody on the field knows their job, is trying to execute their job, and they're there to get their work done. And I think that's probably the culture that Clark has set, and that's really hard to get to. And it doesn't get there without having the right people in the locker room, both your coaches and your players, and then letting that mature over time. I think we kind of saw that kind of budding really well last year. And then obviously it's taken hold this year. They've got a lot of football in front of them. Like, there's going to be tough games that's going to challenge kind of that focus and tenacity and stick-to-itiveness. But I see a really strong-willed coach in Clark Lee who's really smart, knows what he wants, and has kind of established that consistency within this program. He is all about process with these guys. And then you've got a player in Diego Pavia that can echo what the coach says. I don't think any good team can have one without the other. Like, you need a really strong-willed coach who sets a clear vision, and you need somebody, whoever the player is, to make sure that that is entrenched in the locker room when the coaches aren't there. And they've got those two things in place with Clark and Diego.
I want to wrap it up with the turnover battle. I know these are two defenses that, that's their bread and butter. That's what they want to do. How do you see that playing out? And also, you look at the senior, the ultra senior, Rasul Faison. He was able to get the eligibility. He's a big part of the ground attack. How do you think that's going to work against Vanderbilt's front and their defense?
Yeah, again, good question. Yeah, he got his extra year kind of under the Pavia rule. But as I was reading it this week, I guess the Pavia ruling was directly from 2019 and beyond, and his situation dates back to 2018, so they kind of had to work with that. Whatever, that's fine. Yeah, South Carolina under Clayton White, their defensive coordinator, I think has 90 turnovers since 2021, and that's number one in the country. So Vandy is going to have to handle that. Like, 2 turnovers last week in the first half is very disorienting. That was 2 in one half of football for an offense that turned it over 7 times all of 2024. They're going to have to. So the defense is just 2 things for South Carolina. 1, outrageously good off the edge, and 2, really fast in the back end. So you're going to have to set the edges to the best of your ability versus Dylan Stewart's. And on the other side, they've got another talented guy that have replaced Kyle Kennard. You're going to have to set those edges. You're going to have to let things slow down for Pavia and the running game. And then if you're going to advance the ball down the field, you're going to have to understand the team speed that they have. And Pavia, I think, actually has been really good about hitting windows so far in 2 games. I feel like he's been a little bit more of an accurate passer, interception notwithstanding. So he's going to have to understand the speed in the back end. But, if the offensive line for Vanderbilt can take the fight to the defensive line, set the edges for South Carolina, again, not going to be easy, not going to be easy at all. I think you can slow things down for the offense, and that in and of itself should allow you to be more mindful with the football. Turnovers happen when you're sped up, right? Or someone makes a great play. But if you can slow things down, set the edges, kind of at least maintain some sense of structure with your offensive line, I think they can knock down the turnover risk. They've got to take care of themselves and not commit penalties too. So it's a big day. Shocker. An SEC game is going to come down to the trenches. Can Vanderbilt's offensive line hold up against the edge of South Carolina? And can Vanderbilt's defensive line create enough problems for Lenore Sellers that he's off track a little bit?
You can listen to Andrew along with Norm Jordan, Kevin Ingram on the call, 5 o'clock pregame, 6:45 kick on Saturday. Andrew, as always, thanks for taking the time. Have a great call this weekend, and hopefully the Commodores come back to Nashville 3-0.
Thanks, Jake. Thanks, TD.
Andrew Allegretta, voice of Vanderbilt football. Again, 5 o'clock pregame, 6:45 kick. Commodores looking to get to 3-0, coming back for a couple of games against Georgia State, Utah State. Could be the start of something special over on West End. We'll react to what Andrew had to say coming up next. Jake Lyman, Turron, Davenport, Parker Kelly, next man up here on 102.5 The Game. 1025 The Game has teamed up with Pella Windows and the Nashville Humane Association for a puppy pet adoption this Saturday at Pella, 256 East Main Street in Hendersonville from 10 to noon. For more details, visit thegamenashville.com/events. Jake Lyman, Turron Davenport, Parker Kelly with you for a little over 30 more minutes. Chasing Big Joe coming up at the top of the hour. Parker Kelly, he's spinning back there.
Yeah. Somewhere, the 13-year-old version of me is in the attic shadow boxing as I hear this music, man. This Fight the Power, Shut Them Down. Like it was just NWA, Public Enemy, KRS-One, Rakim. Like that stuff used to get me hype, man. And I just go in the attic and just shadow box. Oh man.
Parker pulls out all the stops when you're here.
Pick. Yes.
We get some creative stuff from Parker back there. Yesterday he played Bear Down for Corey Curtis, our resident Bears fan. So great job from Parker Kelly. Yeah. Great talking to Andrew Allegretta for his weekly visit as he gets set to head down to Columbia. Voice of the Commodores, Vanderbilt taking on South Carolina on Saturday. It is crazy, TD, to see just the transformation of Vanderbilt football over the last 2 years, where at the end of the 2023 season, they had lost 10 straight games. It looked dire for that program. And Clark Lee made the changes that he needed to do on the coaching staff, got Diego Pavia, and here we are. They're coming off a 7-6 season, and now they're heading on the road. They're 5.5-point underdogs at South Carolina, who's the 11th ranked team in the country, with a chance that they're likely a top 20 team if they win this game. Yeah. Vandy football has really just done a complete 180 in less than 2 calendar years.
Yeah, no longer a laughing stock. You can't laugh at them and take them lightly because that defense they're going to turn the football over. Right. And Pavia is going to do something crazy. You already know.
That defensive line is so deep. They just rotate guys in and out. It's like they got a line change out there, and that's what you need in the SEC. Against those big offensive lines you're going to see. Excited to see what they do this weekend at South Carolina. And it's funny, just like the public image of Vanderbilt football has changed too. It's like they used to be kind of viewed as like, oh, they're in the SEC, but they're not really like SEC, Alabama, Ole Miss. But they had like Theo Vaughn is following the team around. Like he's their resident mascot right now. They had the streamer I Show Speed at practice yesterday. Like there's draw. It's cool to be a Vanderbilt football fan, which is awesome to see. And you know, you're trying to appeal to 16, 17, 18-year-old kids. Like that kind of stuff does help with recruiting to show these celebrities. Jelly Roll's been out there at practice. It's like this kind of stuff can help this program continue to grow. And, you know, Nashville, there are a lot of Tennessee fans in here, but it does feel like the community is starting to rally around Vanderbilt football.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, it's not a situation where you could say, hey, Vandy's on my schedule, that's a win. No, you got to bring it in order to beat this team now. And it's refreshing to see that because just in this short bit of time that I've been here, you know, I've seen the days where it's like, man, I ain't even going to bother to go to a Vandy game. You know what I mean? But now it's like, hey, I want to go see it. You
it's
know
different.
I mean? Yeah. And it's cool to see. Like you respect that. Like when you could build something earlier, Parker Place started from the bottom. Now we're here. Like Vandy that should be their theme song because now they're at a point where it's like they're a force to be reckoned with.
And with the remodel and everything at the stadium, like it's all kind of coming together at the right time. This is going to be a fun game on Saturday. South Carolina is a good team, and they got a lot of talented players. And Lenore Sellers is 1A along with Dylan Stewart. Like those two guys are not only probably first-round picks, they both could end up being top 10 picks by the time they leave Columbia. But as we've seen, Vanderbilt can play with anyone. They beat Alabama last year. They took Texas down to the last minute, lost by 3 to the Longhorns, who ended up being a national semifinalist. Like there are very rarely a game where Vandy is out of it at the end. South Carolina is good, though. And this is a Vandy team that hasn't beaten South Carolina since 2008. Like it's one of the stranger losing streaks that we've seen because you wouldn't think that like South Carolina and Vanderbilt play all the time, but they do play every single year. Vandy has not won since 2008. They might be due. And at 6:45 on the SEC Network, radio broadcast right here on 1025 The Game. I think that's must-see TV. Pavia versus Sellers. it's not going to disappoint in terms of entertainment. That's for sure.
Yep. And even, I mean, you look, hey, they got tight end going on at Vanderbilt in the summertime and everything. So I think that's just a testament to where this program is going, all the excitement and everything like that. I would just say, hey, man, like Nashville, support them. You know what I mean? Support them. Local athletes. Hey, if you get a scholarship to Vandy, I mean, you talking about, what is it, 77, 80,000 a year?
Not only you're playing in the SEC,
you're getting quite an education.
You're living in Nashville, which, I've been to every SEC town. I would probably take Nashville over most of them, if not all of them.
Yeah.
And you get a degree that is second to pretty much only the Ivies. Like Vanderbilt is up there in terms of the quality of degree that you're getting. Like it is. There are plenty of ways to sell Vanderbilt football, and I think you're starting to see that come to fruition. So excited for that one on Saturday, Vanderbilt and South Carolina. That is a 6:45 kick from Columbia before Vandy returns home for games against Georgia State and Utah State each of the next 2 Saturdays. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We're going to get back into the Titans for the final half hour of the show. Get TD's thoughts on what the Titans need to do, maybe not to win on Sunday, but just to show improvement and stay in this game against a good Rams team in Nissan Stadium for week 2. Jake Lyman, Turron, Davenport, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Turron, Davenport, Parker Kelly. PK, the dedication to the bump music from PK when you're in here, it's different. It is different.
This was a banger though, my boo. I used to bump this right here.
Jake Lyman, Turron, Davenport with you for 30 more minutes as Chase and Big Joe are coming up at the top of the hour. TD in for the full show today. We've gotten into a lot of stuff, but Titans and Rams coming up on Sunday. Titans 0-1, looking to avoid falling to 0-2. Going to be a tough task against a good Rams team. Game is at home over at Nissan Stadium, noon on Sunday. So TD, we've talked a lot about the offense and things that need to improve. What are you looking at specifically on Sunday that has to be better around Cam Ward to give the Titans a chance to win this game?
First things first, catch the football. I think that's the biggest thing, right? But on top of that, what they need to do is put together easier situations to catch the football. Let's see some screens where the guy who's getting the ball knows to be the one to look at the quarterback. You got to have that. But overall, I think, more play action, running the football, establish that. I think it's going to be tough against Jared Verse without having J.C. Latham, which I think that's kind of the way it's trending.
That's how it's sounding.
Yeah, so that's going to be a situation. Defensively, look, just continue to play ball. Tackle better late in the game. That's going to be important. And just find a way to stay, how can I put it? You want to cut drives a little bit more. They were on the field a lot. A lot of that was because of the offense and their 3 and out. So I think overall just a better effort, limit the penalties and things like that too.
Yeah, I think offensively you gotta stay ahead of the chains. There were so many times, especially late in the game on Sunday, where it was obvious passing situations. And you mentioned J.C. Latham. It seems like it's trending that he's not going to play on Sunday.
Yeah.
Like everything that we've seen and heard Brian Callahan say, I would make the guess he's not going to be out there. Could change. We'll see what the practice report is later on today, whether he's able to get out there. But seems like he will be out without J.C. Latham. The easiest way to make sure that Cam Ward doesn't get crushed again on Sunday is get ahead of the chains where Jared Verse and those other pass rushers can't just pin their ears back and come and try and knock out Cam Ward, because he was hit 12 times on Sunday. Got to be less than that against the Rams.
It's got to be less than that, absolutely. And I think, when you look at Jared Verse, he's obviously the guy we're all going to talk about and look at. But you got Braden Fisk, who's, he had a disruptive player.
8.5 sacks last year.
Yeah, you got that. Then I think, you even look at someone else like Omar Spakes, like looking at their roster. Cam Curl is a solid safety. I've liked him. Keller Witherspoon, he's been around for a while. That was actually Cheeto Awuzie.
Right.
That was his teammate at Colorado before Colorado was the sexy school that it is now. Yeah. So I think you look at those things, but one thing that is really major to me, Steve Avila, coming out of TCU.
Yep.
He was a guy I really liked him as a prospect. I remember sitting in here talking to Jared. I'm like, yo, this guard, he's good, man. Watched him against Texas and their D tackles, if he's out, regardless of whether he's out or playing, Jeffrey Simmons has to dominate. You know what I mean?
Steve Avila, ankle sprain. Kevin Dotson, their other guard, also has a sprained ankle.
Yeah.
They are being listed as week to week. Neither of them practiced yesterday. Also, right tackle Rob Havenstein did not practice yesterday. So there's a chance that the Rams could be without 3 of their starting 5. I haven't heard anything about Havenstein. Maybe that's more maintenance for him. He's a veteran guy. Maybe he just needed yesterday off and he'll be back out there. But something to keep an eye on, because the Titans' interior defensive linemen, we expect to see more from Tavondre Sweat this week. As he's not at elevation. He's got a game under his belt. If Simmons and Sweat can collapse that pocket and make it tough on Matthew Stafford, that's a way that the Titans can stay in this game, even if the offense isn't explosive again, which, again, without J.C. Latham, it might be tough to protect Cam Ward.
Yeah, it's going to be very tough. But you know what? Your play calls have to protect him, okay? So that you have a liability on the right side.
Yep.
There's nothing new to Brian Callahan,
Yeah.
So that. So your play calls have to protect them, sprint out away from that side when Jared Verse is over there.
Yep.
Make sure that Kevin Zeitler, that triangle, Zeitler, Cushenberry, and Skoronski hold it down against Braden Fisk and keep him from, because they like to tandem the two, Fisk and Verse. They work in tandems. Going back to Florida State that year they spent together. So you want to make sure that you're sprinting away from that. And at the same time, as you're sprinting away, this is a good opportunity to have just a play just popped into my mind, right? Where you have the play side be the right, and let's just say Jared Verse and Fisk are there on the right. You want to have DK as the slot. Why not have him run that deep over route that he did so well at Florida, that Cam Ward threw so well at Miami? Why not have him run that deep over from right to left, and you're spreading out away from that, you know what I mean? And then you have Tony Pollard to your left and just kind of backside be able to, block that if Verse or Fisk or the linebacker, whoever should leak through, you got the help. And now you're giving that an opportunity to go where you got the deep crosser, you got a post over top of that, and maybe Ironman on the go route isolated on that side. These are all things that you got to do. And of course, with that situation, you want to have your outlet where he could get rid of the ball if that pressure does leak through. Do more of those types of things where your play call and design is being put together to plug that hole, right? Where you have the liability, so to speak.
Yes. And it may be tough to protect Cam Ward, and you have to be creative in that sense. But as I mentioned earlier, the Rams, Ahkello Witherspoon, their cornerbacks, they're not bad cornerbacks, but it's not Patrick Surtain and Riley Moss. I'd like to see some more shots. And again, you have to protect Cam Ward to give him the chance to throw these. But you're not facing an All-Pro Defensive Player of the Year cornerback. Get Calvin Ridley a little bit more involved. I know he got 8 targets on Sunday, and he didn't catch a ton of them. But get him in the rhythm early on. How many targets did he have in the first half? 1, 2, maybe?
2. Yeah.
He had the little screen pass, and I think that might have been it. So if you can get Calvin Ridley more involved, get those receivers more involved early, I think that's going to be helpful. And again, it's a lot easier when it's not Patrick Surtain and Riley Moss, who, if you're looking at cornerback tandems across the league, that might be the best one that you're going to face all year.
Riley Moss. I was telling Iowa yesterday, I was like, man, listen, Riley Moss, I loved him coming out of Iowa. Let me tell you.
He doesn't get enough attention because Patrick Surtain's on the other side.
Which means that he's going to get a lot of targets, and he has to hold it down, and he's done a good job. But to your point about these corners, this is a week where you say, okay, you know what? We could go max protection. If I'm the coach, I'm thinking, hey, I could go max protection a little bit more because I'm looking at Darius Williams, aggressive corner. He's feisty. He's spicy, you know what I mean? But I'm looking at him. I'm looking at Ahkello Witherspoon, Cody Durant. I'm like, you know what? I feel like my guys could beat them.
Right.
One-on-one. So, if we go max and we have 3 4-man routes, I feel like my guys can win. And that's kind of, I'm not telling Brian Callahan how to design the plays. I'm just saying the way I would look at it. And I get excited about that because I think about one-on-ones and it's like, man, Imano, as Jarvis Brownlee says, and it's one of those things where you're one-on-one and it's like, it's me and you. Guess what? It ain't gonna be me losing. You know what I mean? So let's have it. And it's exciting to think about that opportunity.
You feel like the matchups on the outside are better. And I said to Parker on Monday, reaction show right off the top, did you see Patrick Surtain basically at all during that game? No, because they didn't throw at him. Yeah. I cannot think of a single instance where they threw the ball anywhere near Patrick Surtain.
There was one, and I remember him doing this because it was incomplete. There was one I remember.
Maybe one, but it's like that you talk about him as the defensive player of the year. The reason he's the defensive player of the year is because people don't test him because he's that good. And you saw a ton of Riley Moss, and Riley Moss, I mean, he made his money on Sunday.
Yeah. He got away with a little interference on that.
He did. I thought the interference calls were a little inconsistent on Sunday. There was one right after the non-challenge for the Ironman catch where Ridley got hit way early. It was like a little throw over the middle, and the guy coming from behind, it might have been Surtain actually. I thought he got there early. And with Jarvis Brownlee Jr., yeah, most of them were close, probably flags.
Yeah.
But the Broncos were doing some similar stuff throughout the game.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think they got called for any kind of pass interference.
That second one of Brownlee was horse crap, man.
Yeah, the one where Sutton pushed off.
Yeah. You engaged the confrontation.
Right.
You engaged it.
And it was hand fighting, and then Brownlee just dove in front and made the pass break up.
And you saw when the flag came up?
When the ball was incomplete already.
Come on.
Yeah, it was inconsistent for sure on Sunday. And, 130 yards and penalties for the Titans is not good, but I think the Broncos should have had a few more yards there too. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Last call for phones. If you have thoughts, questions for TD, we'd love to hear from you. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. One more segment coming up. Then we'll hand it off to Chase and Big Joe, Jake Lyman, Turron, Davenport, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game.
That was
Wrapping up the show here on Next Man Up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Turron, Davenport, Parker Kelly. TD fired up.
Yeah, I could just hear Chris Berman.
I know.
You know what I mean? Him and Tom Jackson. What? Yeah. Mike Allstott.
Fastest 3 minutes in sports right here.
I love it. I love that they still have him doing this on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Like, Chris Berman obviously isn't going to be the main staple of ESPN football coverage like he was for years, but I like that they keep him involved.
Boomer.
I wish they would let him do the home run derby again.
back. Gone.
Titans and Rams coming up on Sunday. TD will be out there. Make sure you follow along at @TDavenport_NFL for all of your coverage this weekend. Titans trying to avoid an 0-2 start against the Rams. A couple of things. You mentioned Femi Oladejo during the break, and I feel like we haven't talked about him enough this week. There were some flashes. He was unblocked on most of them, but he did the right things. I mentioned earlier, I think it was Mark Sanchez said he didn't chase the cheese on some of those play actions. He stayed home, made Bo Nix make some either dirt it or make a bad decision. I think Femi looked good in his NFL debut on Sunday.
He had a Brandon Graham type of game to me.
Yeah.
BG is one of my favorite guys to ever cover, but also one of my favorite players to watch, from that position. And he did that. Also, to his credit, as far as being a rookie, there was a play, right, where you saw him look at the other side of the defense and do this and get them, because it was like strong side to him because he's the strong side back to Sam, in that situation. And so he had Hooker. He repositioned Amani Hooker, and Hooker came up and made a play.
Yep.
And it's like you got the multi-million-dollar
just signed
veteran,
extension,
you know what I mean? Captain getting a tip from the rookie who, by the way, converted to a new. But see, this is kind of the middle linebacker part of him, why that is that experience is so good for a guy in that situation.
Yeah.
So I thought that was one of the better things he did that day.
I liked what I saw from Femi. I thought the edge group, even though there were times where Bo Nix got to stand back there a little bit too long. Like that, there was obviously times where they didn't get home. I think the edge group at least showed me something on Sunday, and you hope that Femi can continue to develop and take some snaps away from some of those veteran guys like Draymond Jones and Arden Key. Those are your veteran guys out there. But I think by the end of the year, you're hoping that Femi Oladejo is a big part of that defensive line.
Yeah, and I want to see just how they're able to use the versatility a little bit more right now, especially in this situation. If the guards can't play, Dotson and Avila, give the guys in there different looks.
Yeah.
Okay, look, if Sweat is out there, hey, give him that bull rush. Okay, you know what? Your turn, Arden. I want you to use your length. Okay, you know what? Next up is Jeff. Hey, Jeff, finesse him, give him some quickness, and that way you don't get them used to what they're facing. It's like, oh, shoot, I got this bull rush.
Yeah.
Oh, man, there's a lot to deal with.
We talked about this yesterday, that if Steve Avila and Kevin Dotson both can't go, again, I'm not of the opinion of like, if I don't know their name, then they're not good. Like, I know that's how a lot of people feel. But here are the three starting interior offensive linemen if Avila and Dotson can't go: Justin Dedich, Coleman Shelton, and Bo Limmer. Those are three people who have never been in my kitchen.
Yeah, not familiar with any of the I've heard of Bo Limmer before. But
so Coleman Shelton is their starting center.
Okay.
But I'm looking at it. The only other two interior offensive linemen listed on this depth chart on ESPN are Justin Dedich and Bo Limmer.
Look, this is a week where you get up there, right? Have those conversations with the receivers at the line of scrimmage.
Right.
And I'm not talking about talking, right? I'm talking about talking with your hand. Get hands on them. You want to do that anyway, but here's the thing. There's a lot of motion and things like that they do to set up Puka Nacua, and Devontae Adams is freaky at the line of scrimmage. So proceed with caution. But in my opinion, this is a week where you say, hey, L'Jarius Sneed, I know you're mad about not playing last week. Take it out on him. Take it out on this guy in front of you. Put your hands on him. Jarvis, keep putting your hands on him. Do what you got to do to slow them down at the line to give that rush extra time.
Yes, and I think it would be an important game to have both L'Jarius Sneed and Jarvis Brownlee out there on the outside. It makes you feel a lot better going against, again, Puka Nacua. who's proven that he can be one of the best wide receivers in football, and then Davante Adams, who, he's on the backside of his career, but the Titans usually don't do too well guarding Davante Adams.
Yeah.
I look back at that. Was it Sunday Night Football against the Packers a couple years ago where he caught 3 touchdowns or something like that? Yeah. I get it. That's a different Davante Adams than what we have now, but still very talented player. TD, final thoughts on what we hope to see on Sunday. I think the main thing for me is we can't be talking about Brian Callahan on Monday. Like he cannot have a situation like the end of the first half or the challenge where you're looking at him as a reason why the team lost. The team may lose. The Rams are the more talented team, but it can't be because of the head coach.
It can't be because of the head coach. You need to see a near flawless operation. I mean, he's gotten to the point now where there is no benefit of the doubt. You want to make sure that everything is buttoned up, right? And if you lose, it's not because of, guys not knowing what they're doing and you not layering plays and not being aggressive at the right time. If they lose this game, it has to be one of the ones where it's just like, you know what? This team is where we want to be next year. So
there's a difference between being out-talented and outplayed.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you've got to play with them, and it's the NFL. Like, it's not like this is Alabama and Mercer. Like, you can play with them. They're all professionals. You can get out-talented, and that's fine. It's about not having the bad decisions, and the penalties have to be better.
Penalties have to be curbed.
Penalties are going to happen. I'm not expecting the Titans to go out and have 3 penalties for 25 yards on Sunday, but you can't have 130 yards. That was
almost 1.5 football fields.
It was really bad. You can't have that, especially when your offense only puts up 135. Like, it's not good. Got to be better from Brian Callahan. Got to be better from the offense. Titans and Rams Sunday at noon. We've appreciated having TD on for the full show today. We'll do it again next week. We'll talk to TD. And again, I'm gonna have to update everybody on how the cow milking goes tonight. I have no idea.
You bringing gloves?
Should I? I feel like I should. Right?
Mean, I wouldn't even do it, but I would have those doctor's gloves on. You know.
Well, they said in the email, like, bring clothes you don't want to worry about getting milk on. And I'm like, I don't know. But excited for that. It's at 7 o'clock. If you want to come see me and Chase milk some cows tonight, Big Joe's going to be the MC. It's over at the Nashville Fair in Wedgwood, Houston, and we're going to do our best. 7 o'clock tonight.
Just get videos.
I am 100% sure that Big Joe, if he's not the one taking the video, he will have somebody there to take the video.
And he will be laughing in the background.
Yes,
too.
He will. So I will update everybody tomorrow on how that goes. TD, thanks for coming in. And again, before we get out of here, it is September 11th. So just want to remember all the victims of the tragedy 24 years ago. This is a day that we always have to look back. And never forget what happened on that day. And for anyone who is affected by that, our thoughts are with you today. That does it for us. For Turron Davenport and Parker Kelly, I'm Jake Lyman signing off. Chasing Big Joe coming up next. You're listening to 102.5 The Game.